Salutations, friends, and welcome back to I Don't Know What I'm Doing, and I just recorded this whole intro and the outro, and I didn't have my mic on. So now we're doing it again. Welcome back to Spooky Time with Eveline. Spooky Time with Eveline. If you are new here and you are thinking, what is going on? Why are there pumpkins in the background? And then clearly you are not aware that on the last Friday of every month on this channel, we are making spooky content. We are doing spooky DIYs, spooking sewing tutorials, and just being spooky in general, all the way up into the Halloween season where we will just be constantly spooky. Last month I showed you how I made this lovely paper mache necklace holder, my lovely pal here. And this month we're actually remaking something. Last year I made these little guys. I made 6 of these with the intention of selling them. They're these cute little rosettes with little eyeballs coming out of them. I made them because I need creepy garden life, and not a lot of places sell creepy garden life that is to my liking. And I also made them with the intention of selling them. However, I didn't ever feel comfortable with the quality. I think it all stems from the dollar store ping pong balls that I used to make the eyes, and they just like to cave in on themselves, and it's just no good. So this year I thought, well, how about I try again? And I did, introducing to you the Seeking Swamp Rose 2.0, or if you'd like the Latin name, Rosa Oculus. I am absolutely ecstatic about how these guys came out, and I'm really excited to show you how you can make one for yourself. However, if you're sitting here thinking, well, Eveline, those are pretty nifty, and I'd really like to have one of those, but I'm not really a crafty person, and or I just really don't feel like sitting down and taking 3 days to make one for myself and buying all of the materials, because really that would be expensive for just one guy. Friend, if this is what you are thinking, then I have some wonderful news for you, because for just a single purchase of $24.99 American dollars, you can purchase one of these guys to have and to hold for your own. Just scroll on down to that description down below and click the link under where it says Get Your Rose, and it'll take you directly to an Etsy listing where you, my friend, you can purchase one of these guys, adopt it into your household, and you can have it for however long you would like to have it for. Hopefully forever. And if you weren't thinking that and you're just here to learn how to make these, or you just want to see more about the construction of these guys, or you want to make one for yourself, then keep on watching, because we are going to get right into it. So to start out, I drilled a 1/16 inch hole into each ping pong ball, and I stuck an 18 gauge wire into it with some hot glue. I cut the lengths to be about 8 inches, and I bent the ends of them. That way I'd have not only a place to hold onto while I was working, but also I could hang them to dry. And hang them I did. This was a very long project. I made, wait for it, yeah, 50 of these guys. Well, 50 of the eyeballs. Only 10 of these are going to be made into roses, and only 10 of them are going to be sold. So if you want one, there's only 10 available. They are down, again, linked in my Etsy. After the 10, they are going to be gone, if not forever, for a very, very long time, because I have too many other projects that I'm going to be using these eyeballs for. Anyway, I started by gessoing the ping pong ball, and then I worked with a cream color and a reddish pink color to sort of give a irritated look to the eyes. I just channeled my inner spooky, you know? And then I hand drew each iris onto each eyeball 50 times. I drew as perfect of a circle as I could. If I had a circle maker or a circle stencil, that would have worked so much better, and then I could just fill it in like I ended up doing with some paint. I started with a base of black just to give something for the color to pop off on. Originally, I was going to do different colors for each eyeball, and then I decided that was going to be way too much work, and so I stuck to just a crazy green color. So just different shades of green and white mixed in there to give dimension and make it look like an iris. On my first ones, I painted the little lines, and I really put a lot of effort into doing that, and that was just taking me way too long. It was taking forever, and so I ended up switching to a different method for the other ones, which I think look just as good, just a little bit less detailed, just so that I wasn't, spending actual days doing this. I also switched the way that I did the pupils. Here you can see me painting it on, but I switched to a ball tool for like sculpting. I dipped it in paint and then I rubbed it onto the eyeball, and that created pupils absolutely magnificently. Now this was my least favorite part, this whole yarn thing. It was very hard on my hands. I basically, like you do ribbons, scraped the yarn across some scissors until I had a bunch of fibers. It hurts your hands. I sat there for hours doing it. It was awful, but it was so worth it to get these little veins. I think it just looks so good. It adds so much dimension to the eyes. I just added them on there with Mod Podge, just regular Mod Podge. It is just the easiest, least toxic way for me to do it. And then I could get to the sculpting. I used paper clay, so I had water on hand, all of my sculpting tools, and then this paper clay was actually the clay that I used for the original eyeballs that I made over a year ago at this point, which the fact that it's not completely dried out is insane to me. A little bit of it was dried out, which is why I'm kind of struggling here to sculpt it and get it smooth. I ended up just tearing off all of that dried clay and throwing it away, and luckily most of it was still super moist and super wet. I stored it in a Ziploc bag, so I'm sure that helped, and I was able to sculpt these just fine. I start always with the eyelid. It's just obviously the first place to start, and it's the most fun place to start, because once you have the eyelid on there, or once you are putting the eyelid on there, you get to decide its personality. You can do so many expressions just by changing the shape of the eyelid, changing how open or closed it is. You can make them look crazy, you can make them look angry, you can make them look sad, scared. This is the most fun part of this whole project to me. It gives each little flower its own personality. Next, I started on the petals. I made each rose all the way through before moving on to the next, just so I could focus on giving them that uniqueness. I wanted these all to be different. I didn't want them to be the same. They all have their little personalities. They each have a different number of petals. They're all just slightly different, and that's what I think makes these guys so special. I made the petals just by squishing a ball of clay into an oval shape, thinning out the edges as best as I could without making them too brittle, and putting them on the rose, staggering them as I go until I felt like it was ready. Like I said, each one of these is going to be different. They're going to have different colors, they're going to have different numbers of petals, but they're all going to be cohesive, like the same. They go together. I then tore off the extra clay and hung them to dry for 3 days. Because of how thick the clay ended up being, it did take quite a while for these to dry. That is probably the longest part of this project, is just dry time. And then I got on to painting them. This is obviously where they start looking like actual flowers. I used a mixture of creams, yellows, pinks, purples, reds, and I watered down them. I just used regular acrylic paint to give just washes of color, and then I did that in layers, and so it added quite a bit of dimension, and I think it was much easier to build up to the color that I wanted than to start with a really strong color and try to figure it out from there. I also added a wash of a dark brown. I ended up mixing burnt umber, Mars black, and some leftover purple color that I had. And all I did, as you can see coming up, I watered it down, really watered down, like much more watered down than I did before. And I just washed that over the petals, made sure I got it in all the nooks and crannies, and then I dabbed it off with a paper towel so that I would be left with that true color on the outside, and then all of the cracks, all of the crevices would be much darker. This just gives so much more dimension. It's this pretty standard weathering technique. And to bring out some of the highlights, I mixed up a very light pink, almost white, and I just brushed it over the high points of the petals and of the eyelid. Obviously, this is a very bad shot, but it's what you get. And here are the finished roses. And that's going to be it for me, y'all. Again, if you'd rather just buy one of these than spend the hours and days that it takes to make one, the Etsy link will be down in the description. And if you do plan on making one of these, or if you buy one and you just want to show me that you supported me and make me feel warm and fuzzy inside, you can tag me on Instagram. My @ is @EvelinFletcher. I will put the name right here so that you will know how to spell it. It will also be linked below. And it would make me feel so loved and warm and fuzzy to see your creations and see you buy my creations and have my little sculptures. I spent so long on these and I put so much love and care into these guys, and I love each and every one of them. They each have their own little individual personalities, and just the thought of them going to a loving home makes me feel nice and warm. One last plug before I go, because I always have to plug this at the end of my videos because I just can't stop, and I won't stop. I have a podcast that I do with my friend whose name is also Eveline, where we each take turns picking a topic that we would like to talk about and have a fun, chit-chatty, warm, cozy, fun slumber party-esque conversation with each other. It is very fun to do, and I've been told by many people at this point that it is in fact very fun to listen to. So if you would like to check that out and hear me talk for an hour to an hour and a half at a time, then that will be linked also down below. We are on Spotify and YouTube currently, so yeah. Thank you for checking that out if you would like to. Thank you so much for watching, and if you feel like hanging around and seeing more spooky stuff, more non-spooky stuff, more just creations and DIYs and sewing content, then feel free to subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you here. It's always fun. We're always doing things. We're always making things. And just a reminder that if you do like the spooky things and spooky DIYs, then we do get spooky on the last Friday of every month. So next month there will be more spooky content. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek right now. I'm going to give you another little sneak peek as to what we will be working with next month. Oh, hello. What will we be doing with these? Making them better. Anyway, have a very happy early Halloween if you are choosing to celebrate and be spooky. And if you just need some spooky vibes, might I suggest burning a apple cinnamon candle or a pumpkin cinnamon candle if you have access to one. Perhaps making yourself a nice little cup of hot apple cider or some cinnamon apple tea. Reading a spooky book, watching a spooky movie. My personal favorite spooky movie to get me into the spooky mood is Trick or Treat, so I could suggest that. But yeah, just have fun and be your spooky selves, and I'll see you next week, because I upload every Friday. I'm just not spooky every Friday, but like, that's okay. I don't have to be spooky all the time, because I'm spooky all the time in my heart. Alright, I love you. Happy Halloween. Don't forget to wash your hands. Goodbye.